you could accumulate a lot of wealth in your years, and then one time just one sickness or one accident drains you and gets you back to zero. And basically one of the reasons we can mitigate such an eventuality is through the use of taking advantage of things like insurance. So we are glad to have a speaker who will speak to us about insurance and how to go about the various insurances, what options are available for us, especially as bikers, especially because out here it's considered that we are biking is a dangerous affair. Let's hear from Bwana Murage, and hopefully we'll be able to learn a thing or two. Before I welcome him, I'd also like to appreciate those that we have been working with, those who have put a lot of effort tirelessly to make this World Day of Remembrance month, if I may say, a success. And I'd like to first of all appreciate Mama Cycling, who are also part of the session that we had last Sunday at Nairobi Chapel. I'd like to recognize and acknowledge ISH, that is INKED Sisterhood, for all the effort that they've put towards this, and special mentions to Monyenye and Michelle and the rest of your team. Also PBAK, who we have also played a part in this, of course, again through Michelle and Monyenye, and not to forget Primken, who have also taken time out of their day to come and speak to us about insurance. So with that, so I don't eat much into the speaker's time. I think I'd wind it at that, and I'd want to invite, I give it back to you, Bryson, or directly to Bwana Murage.
I think we can give it to Murage to start us off. Thank you, William, for the good introduction.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. I think everyone's on mute.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry. At least I wanted one or two people so that I can be sure I'm live and participating.
Yep.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. To all members of Association of Private Motorcycle Riders of Kenya, I feel honored to host this session or to participate in this session. As William has mentioned, I'm David Murage, the CEO of Primken Insurance Brokers. I've been in this game of insurance for quite some time now. I'm the kind of people who are about to retire if opportunities for retirement come, because I've been in this game for quite some time. I would say I want to appreciate that you had other options, but you picked on us, and thank you so much. We don't take it for granted. These are big business opportunities. Talking to 100 people who are in a special category for us is a plus. It's not a bother. It is actually an honor, and we want to leverage on the opportunity so that at the end of this session, we are able to say, yes, it was worthy for all of us. Now, I'll go back. I'll start by probably talking about the genesis of insurance, as it were, because why insurance? Why do you have to talk about insurance every now and then? And I would say insurance is a form of risk transfer. It's a form of risk management where you purposely transfer the risk that you are exposed to an insurance company. I would say now in your case, we are looking at protecting the motorbikes that you dearly spend money to purchase. Also protecting your lives, or your life generally, or your well-being, and also taking care of other road users and other people's property on the road. That is the essence generally why we go for insurance. I would be a bit biased at this point and talk about the motorcycle insurance. It comes, if you go back to the history of the same, we're looking at why was motorcycle insurance introduced. One, it was deemed by law, because you borrow from UK law. All the insurances that we do is the insurance based on UK law. we didn't have insurance of our own, but when the European came, they came with their properties and they came with a language of insurance. And what we are doing here is mainly borrowed from UK. And the essence was they realized these are vehicles that have, the motorcycles are properties that are used by owners, and they're not used by owners in isolation. They're used by owners where they use them in the public facilities like roads, and the exposure is as good as that of a motor vehicle or any other motor vehicle which is on the road. So there was need to look at how you can protect the users or the owners of motorcycles. At this point, I want to mention that when the developers thought about the motor insurance, what came into mind was the leisure or personal use motorcycling. What do I mean? I mean, when you're using your motorcycle to move from your house to the market and back, to move from your house to the church and back, to use the motorcycle from your house to maybe a place of work and back, this is considered as a leisure or private or leisure use. When you're using your motorcycle to just move around and enjoy the sceneries or go home to our country, that is considered as leisure, as opposed to when you're using it for competitive racing. So basically, in our case here, we are narrowing ourselves to motorbikes that are used for leisure, for pleasure and leisure. That is for your personal use. Those things that you must do as you go about your life. We are not talking about other forms of motorbikes that have come in, like the recent invention of the 20th century in Kenya, that is the boda. We're not talking about the boda, and we are not talking about the motorcycles that are used for racing. We are specifically talking about motorcycles that are used for leisure. So basically, that informs us why we need the insurance. I would also say that as we go about thinking about insurance, there's also the need of maybe promoting what I may call how do I call it? We need to promote riding, riding that has a, which one do I use? You need to think about other road users as you do your leisure riding. Of course, we are the other road users who use probably we are pedestrians, we are the drivers, and we're using the same road. And what we're saying, we need to be very careful as you're doing our leisure riding. Let us also be careful that we're taking the interest of other road users. And even as we go about it, we feel that we are not you're not overstepping our boundaries as we go about it with our bikes. Sometimes, maybe I'll mention to you, this is not very kind, but people feel like you are too fast on us on the road. You're obstructing us and you're making too much noise to us. These are general observations, but I hope they don't offend anybody. But basically, I'm talking about it as a road user who occasionally come across the big bikes, the fast bikes. Maybe it's out of jealous because you overtake us and leave us where we are. But basically, that is somehow one of the feeling that people have about the big bikers. But over to the presentation by Bryson. Probably you look at the first slide where we're looking at the motorcycle insurance. And I would say basically, I don't want to delve on each and everything that I've written because this thing will be shared to you by Michelle or Bryson because they have it. But I would say we have now the type of motorcycle insurance that you have, you can either have private, a comprehensive or third party. And the difference between comprehensive and third party is that comprehensive covers your motorbike against the risk of fire, accident, theft, and any other form of third party risk. Third party risk meaning the risk associated with other road users. Like if you are to knock somebody on the road, if you are to knock somebody's car on the road, if you are to knock somebody's property on the road, or damage, or any other damage that afflicts any other person other than yourself, is what is considered as that party risk. The premiums are, as you have seen, and I don't want to dwell so much on this because this one will vary from time to time, such that you have the moment rate of 3.5% with a minimum of 5.5. Extensions like Extest Protector at 0.25% with a minimum of 1,500. Terrorism, political violence and terrorism. We are moving to the terrible time of politics. Terrorism is live and continuing. We had the Uganda incident. And it's good to note that there was a motorcycle involved in the incident. And we are extending that cover at a rate of 0.25% with a minimum premium of 1,500. When it comes to generally covering the motorcycles, of course, there is the question of the engine capacity of the motorcycle. Initially, maybe something which I should have mentioned earlier, when the designers of motorcycle insurance were thinking about insurance, they restrict themselves to small bicycles that were used for leisure purposes. Kids going to school, people going to their places of work, people going to market, and the engine capacity for those motorcycles before maybe 1980s and 70s, maybe 70s, 80s were 100, less than. A person having a motorcycle of 125 cc was being viewed as a very, 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 very okay and big person. So the other bigger engines were left out for racing, and probably these high level security for president, like the presidential escorts and the security system. The leisure and pleasure bikes were considered as those small bikes. Over the years, we've been able to improve this one, and at the moment, a number of insurers have lifted that limit to 250 cc, and we are still having more negotiation or discussions because we have realized the number of people with the leisure and pleasure bikes above 215 are probably more than the ones who are below 250 cc. So it's a discussion we are having. So when you look at some of the exclusions that are there to the covers that are given, the main one includes the border, the hire and reward. Will not give you a cover for leisure and pleasure purposes, and then you're seen to carry people in the evening or in the morning before you do your other errand. So hire and reward into bracket border is excluded. Competitive racing, sporting, and racing and sporting activities are also excluded. Maybe one may wonder why is competitive racing and sporting excluded? This is because of the exposure. The exposure is just too big. When you come down tumbling at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour on a motorbike, it's unfortunately almost obvious that you might end up in some hospital facility, if not elsewhere else. I'm talking over a speed of 300 because I'm sure those motorbikes I've seen overtake me when I'm doing 60. They could be at a speed not less than 300 to 400 kilometers per hour. So obviously the insurance is a business like any other, and nobody would want to unnecessarily expose himself when you are doing business. So that's why those exclusions came in. Political risks and terrorism, as I've said, unless extended, war, riots, strikes, and civil commission, among others. But these are the ones I thought probably would interest you. We're talking of riot, strikes, and civil commotion. Yes, you can be caught up in a group that is rioting, and if you're not actively involved, maybe you are not the one, it's not your motorbike which had the placard saying mapambano, mapambano, or whatever language you'll be using, then you are safe. But if anything happens to you, then we can navigate over a claim. But if you are actively participating, then the insurance will walk away. Then you can move to the next slide. Yes. Now, at this point, I would also want to mention a few things about the documentation, because Once we sell to you insurance, the next thing that happens is, and we hope not to happen, is a claim. So what do you want you to give us when you have a claim? First is a motor accident report form, a police abstract report. And at this point, I want to say that anytime you find yourself in an accident situation, which might require the assistance of your insurance, it is always advisable that you get the police to be involved. Sometimes the situation may not allow, because if it's around a mob, you've knocked somebody in an environment that you think is dangerous, my simple advice is take off and go to the nearest police station and report the matter. Don't wait until your motorbike is burnt down and then you're like, I wish I ran away. I'm not encouraging that we always run away, but should you find yourself in an environment which is not friendly, please take off and go to the report the matter to the nearest police station so that they can accompany you back to the scene of accident. The other thing that you would expect is, other than what statement you make to the police, you're expected to make a statement by your own. I mean, for the purpose of insurance, of circumstances that led to the accident and what happened thereafter. Alongside that, you expect a sketch map of accident scene. I know this one bothers many people so much that many people are friendly in drawing, but yes, a sketch, as the word suggests, a sketch map of the accident scene. The other one is, in case there was injury, it is always safe that your motorbike is inspected to show the condition, its mechanical condition prior to the accident. The others, maybe number 6, takes place, this assessment that will take place at the garage. Upon assessment, the insurance will authorize repairs at the appointed garage. And after the repair work is done, then the motorcycle will be released to you after reinspection and a release letter issued. This is all what I would want to say about the motorcycle insurance at this stage. I know you have a host of questions, and probably so that we are, maybe the last sentence is also very important, that in case parts are not available, the insurance will give cash for the parts as per the last quoted dealer's price, subject to depreciation. I know this one will be subject to discussion. I'll just mark it as something for more mention as we go about the question. So, Bryson, I think I would want us to discuss motorcycle insurance and hear what generally members have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely session on motorcycle insurance. I think you've covered, one, generally the importance of insurance, which is why we're all here. 2, the history of motorcycle insurance in the country. I think some of us would find it really interesting that insurance would be capped off at 125cc, yeah, which is, according to modern motorcycles, quite low, yeah, quite low. We have 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, you know, motocrossing with 125cc. So that's lovely. Learning the history of motorcycle insurance and how more or less where insurers are coming from. Yeah. In terms of questions, one question I think that's top of mind for most people, and you'd mentioned it around carrying people, let's say ferrying, such as borders. Yeah. So some of us as motorcyclists tend to go 2 up. Yeah. So assuming we're carrying probably our children, maybe older children, to school, we're carrying our partners around probably for a holiday.
Yes.
Yeah. So what possibly, and I don't know if this falls within motorcycle insurance or within personal insurance.
It is within motorcycle insurance. Yeah, we appreciate the period that is a passenger on a motorcycle. It's called a period. And yes, it takes the same shape as the motor vehicle insurance. Actually, there's no difference between a motorcycle insurance and a private car insurance. The only unfortunate bit, and this is where many people have never appreciated insurance, I've also not appreciated insurance for that, is that there is no passenger cover for your immediate family members. You'll be around to carry a passenger because the designer of the motorcycle provides that provision for a passenger. it also provides maybe this extra carrier that is normally on the side. I don't remember what you call it, but there's a carrier on the side.
The side
it's a
cut,
small
I think.
cut, side cut.
Yeah, side cut. Yeah.
There is always that understanding that you can even have a side cut, which is used to carry mainly small children. I've seen it in not very common in Kenya, but out there, I've seen quite a number of them. Maybe in a few countries in Asia, they are quite common. We see them on TV or when we visit there. But having said that, the cover for the passenger, even in a personal, in a private car, is only restricted to the third parties. It is unfortunate that the motor insurance cover is not extended to cover the driver or the owner of the vehicle and the immediate family members. So as you go about dropping your kids to school, dropping your wife to a place of work, or dropping your spouse to a place of work, just know it's a general exclusion that the immediate family members are not covered. But if you give me a ride, you give me a lift, and something unfortunate happened, strange enough, I'm covered. That is what I would want to say. Bryson?
Okay, interesting. So from an insurer's perspective, we shouldn't be carrying our family members.
No. You can't say you should not be carrying. What the insurance says is that now you know that these family members are exposed. So what do? Have some form of insurance, other form of insurance for them, like the personal accident that you might be discussing later on. All is not lost.
Yeah.
All is not lost. Thank you.
Okay. Interesting. Is there what was the thinking that informed that decision? Was it just probably to drive business? I don't know. It's curious.
I would say from what I read.
Yes.
I thought initially when in my introduction I mentioned that these are products that we copy pasted from the UK.
Yeah.
In fact, the original companies that we had in this country were from UK, and the argument was that these are legal liability cases, where somebody will come in and say, you drove so carelessly that you caused this accident. So nobody has ever imagined that how Bryson will be carrying his spouse and ride so carelessly, resulting to an accident. So this being a legal liability claim, they deemed it appropriate to have that exemption of immediate family members and actually immediate family members. So basically that's what we were, that is how the book is written. Because if you have ever been involved in a motor accident and somebody is suing you for that accident, if you see the document that comes from a lawyer, you don't like them. You don't like them. We have tried over the years to try and push the regulator to allow us now to have extension, liability to be extended to all users, including the immediate family. But it's a discussion that is going on, and it is, I don't know when we shall ever be able to say we have managed. So I would say, just like the motor insurance cover does not cover your, I think you must have seen a guy who is advertising in the media for IRA, where anasemanga driver wa gari ya insured na hiyo gari na insurance yake. Have you seen something like that?
Yes.
It's the same understanding. So the rider and the immediate family members are not covered for accidents by their own motor vehicle insurance. Yes. Next question.
Very, very informative.
I know it leaves people with a lot of bitter taste in their mouth, but for today I'm here to give you the reality as it is. Sometimes it is a bitter truth, and I normally say you'd rather say it the way it is instead of saying no, I'll push for you a claim, and then when something happens, I'm saying that one is not possible. So I'd rather we mention it now. Maybe I can take the next question.
Yes. The next question comes from Munyenye, and this comes in form of probably the accident scene report, where they ask for a sketch map. Would a picture suffice instead of a sketch?
Not really. maybe as it stands now, we are dealing with, pictures have been disputed in many places. Yeah, we like dealing with sketches. Yeah, maybe we are a bit conservative, but I've not seen a situation where pictures are working. But I've also seen something that happened very recently. That was last week. Yes, we did the sketch map, but we were still forced to send a picture of the scene. Reason being, somebody was not convinced what we said was heat existed. Are we together? Yeah, so it prompted them to feel like, we need to see a picture of this. Because, sometimes they look at and I don't blame them, because we are Kenyans. Some of us create scenes, create accidents. If I had time, I'll give you the incidents I've heard of created accident, but I know none of you has ever done that. I trust my audience. But I can tell you, sometimes they look at the pictures and they cannot comprehend exactly what happened. So they may ask you to give a photo of the scene of the accident. So now that we are enabled and we equipped by our mobile phones, not like before when you used to look for a camera and you cannot get it, always take a video, take a photo of the scene if it is possible. Yeah, if it is possible, if you are in a condition to do that. But the most important, after an accident, it is your life, not even the loss of the motorcycle, particularly if it is properly insured. And even if it is not properly insured, these are things you can always look for. What I normally tell people, even if it means leaving that motorcycle and jumping to the next border to take you to security, please do that, because your life is more precious and cannot be
equated to,
Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Our next question comes on more or less privacy rights when one is filing for a claim.
Yes.
So there's a case in which an accident had occurred, and there was an investigator who was enlisted to examine the legitimacy of a claim.
Yes.
And upon giving information, this person was asked also for the call records.
Call records.
Call records and M-Pesa statements.
M-Pesa statements.
Yeah. So I think the question is how far, or what are the boundaries around
the documentation?
Yes. Or insurance investigation.
Okay, I've taken it because these are things which happened just right on my face.
Okay.
Investigation comes in not in every accident situation, but in the event that the insurance company feels like there is a possibility that this accident, one, is not genuine, two, it happened within an excluded peril. That is, this person was doing border business, and we have insured this private car as a private car. This guy was doing taxi business, and we have insured this one as a private car. Then there are all reasons to say that this is not an admissible claim within the understanding of insurance. So the insurance will be quick to look for doing the investigation. The modern style of investigation I can maybe mention to you is that there is always suspicion around the usage of the car, particularly maybe the taxis or the border. Now, you'll see the investigator calling for some documents like your M-Pesa statement, your call logs, the record of your calls within a given time. Some even go far to the true caller, and it has helped them to unearth some very interesting situation. Like when my true caller suggests that mimi naitwa taxi Murage, I'm a taxi David. Yeah, jamaa wa taxi, jamaa wa Uber. What do you think comes into the mind of this person? When my M-Pesa logs are suggesting I receive regular payments like 100 shillings, 200 shillings, from different people, what would make the investigator not believe that I'm likely to be a border person who picks somebody and is paid 200? Because it is like today, I'm not sure 10 people have sent you 200 shillings. It can only be a very weird coincidence. But a border person, I know today, he could be having 50, 100, 200. And these are the things that are leading people to know, wait a minute, this bike is not for private use. This is a border. So when you see the investigator going to the direction of even wanting to know the people who talk to you, how frequent they talk to you, how they pay you, it is because they have known that the people who do border business are likely to have more transactions of small figures within a day. And they will not stop the investigation after seeing the statements or your columns. They will go further to maybe verify, why did this person with number ending with 46 pay you 200? Some of them will go and call, why did you pay these 200? They will say, si jamaa wa boda alinibeba na nikampatia 200. You are nabbed, and that's the end of the story. So it's a route the investigators have found helpful to them to nab those who are using their private vehicles, private motorbikes for commercial purposes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. The next question comes from Mimi, and she's mentioned the story of riding gear. Yeah.
Riding gear,
yes. In terms of helmets and jackets. And she's asking, probably one, is it covered, or is this something insurers are looking to cover? And
the riding gear.
Yes.
I would say in any form of an asset is insurable. And you can also declare it at the time of taking the cover that on top of this motorbike, I have a riding gear that is worthy this much, and it can be included in your insurance.
Okay.
You can also take it as a part of your domestic package cover.
Okay.
In domestic package cover, you cover all the things that you own in your house for use in the house and outside the house. So you can have a section where as you are covering your other assets, you take it as part of your domestic package and declare it and say, I have this riding gear valued at this amount of money, and it will be covered.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me have a look at other questions. I think most of them are also reactions in terms of the.
I've seen one. Somebody was not happy about the issue of the
family not being covered. Yeah.
Family not being covered.
Yeah.
I think I would want to know, these are committee of Association of Insurance, IRA that was looking into this. I would want to see their last position, because it is a thorn in the flesh, because one would obviously expect that this is automatic, that when I take a comprehensive cover, my family, particularly my family, is covered. But the truth is yourself and your family not covered.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I think our next question comes to probably the process of claims, or more or less how long should it take until a claim is probably paid out?
I would say claims should be taken up immediately the incident occurs.
Okay.
What delays most of the claims are, I would say, sometimes is documentation. We've had incidents where people take too long to document claims. That can result to delay. But there's no claim that should last more than maybe a month before you've received, even if it's a write-off, before you receive your final claim. Now, you remember, as I was concluding my case, I posted and said, there's something I would want us to revisit. One of the biggest challenges I'm having with your bikes, your big bikes, your imported bikes, is that most of them are secondhand and they are not locally manufactured. There is none which is in Toyota Kenya, or we don't have a store for. Do you have new big bikes? Do you normally get do you have new bikes locally?
Yeah, but it's quite rare that someone would purchase.
Quite quite rare. What you have are imported second-hand bikes, very nice, but when it comes to accident and repairs, I've seen, and we have even we have disagreed with a few of your members about unavailability of parts. You realize from assessment, the motorbike is accessible, is repairable, sorry, and but the specific spare part is not locally available. So that will cause a delay that nobody can be able to help. And we cannot write off a bike because of unavailability of the spare parts. We have in our policies what we call an obtainable parts clause. and it states clearly that in the event that a part is not available in the market, then the onus is on the insured or the owner of the bike to identify where to get this part from. In the event that they don't get it, the insurers then are supposed to give money equivalent to the price, the last quoted dealer's price of that particular item, less applicable depreciation. You realize if it is a 2000 motorbike, now if you are buying a spare part in 2020, of course the 20 years depreciation aspect will come into play. So basically that is the only challenge I see which delays the claims. Other things that delay claims are, other than documentation, maybe if you are to go to a rogue underwriter who wants to take all the time here and there, I would say sometimes you also land into those rogue underwriters who are, unnecessarily delaying the claims. But it is our work to push them and make sure that they pay what is payable within the shortest time possible. Other things that delay claims are investigation. Anytime you hear that your claim has been subjected to investigation, just know you'll be lagging behind by not less than 2 to 3 weeks, because these people didn't move around. They get to move around and get all the information or piece up the information that will make them believe that your claim is payable or not payable. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. And the next question comes on probably the rider, at the time of the accident, For some of us, probably if it's a weekend ride and I've traveled, I would park my bike with a friend who also rides, so that you can, warm the engine, probably get a feel of the bike. So assuming this other rider has an accident, but the bike is insured, are the claims still payable?
Yes. Just like you can lend me your car to use, I can also, if I am licensed, as long as I'm a licensed rider, I can borrow your motorbike and use it for my own errands. Should anything happen, yes, there is insurance.
Okay.
Yes.
Glad. And I think probably what could be our last question for this section would be on probably incentivizing good behavior or safe riding practices within the motorcycling community through insurance. So probably in your experience, have there been any products that would take into factor safe riding practices, assuming I went to a good riding school as opposed to being trained in the field by my boda friend, assuming I've invested in proper safety gear, would that contribute to probably my insurance premiums being lower?
As it were, that should be the norm. That should be the way the insurance should look at issues, because in our assessment of risk, we should also be able to look at what are the risk management aspects that are being taken up by this group of people. How are they different from other kawaida riders? That is the ideal situation. But I would say, from where I see it, nobody has moved that step. Nobody in the market has bothered to look at that aspect when determining the prices of the premiums for riders. I would say maybe it's a challenge to me as a practitioner, as I declare myself somebody who is about to retire. I think before I retire, I need to go back and look at what is it that we can do to appreciate those people who are taking care, who have enhanced their safety and also promoted safe riding practices, so that their premiums are seen to be better than the others. So it's a challenge. I don't think I've seen this one being done anywhere, but then it's something we can look into. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we can then probably move on into our next section.
Yeah, this is the personal accident insurance. This one, I'll combine it with the WIBA, because more or less, GPA and WIBA, because they are more or less the same. Are we together?
Yes.
Move to the next slide. Yeah, this is insurance for accident-related injuries, death or injuries to the insured person. It may be extended to have compensation for medical expenses arising from an accident. Note that medical expenses arising from an accident. The structure of benefit is as indicated there, where we have death benefit, permanent total disability, temporary total disability, medical bills, artificial appliances. I mean, you may, after an accident, you may require clutches, you may require a wheelchair. Those are the artificial appliances. Hospital cash or pocket money. Some of the products are so enhanced that for every week you are in the hospital, they will give you some little pocket money. It's a structured policy, so to say. And then it also has a provision for last expense insurance. That is, in the event, the unfortunate event that the insured member dies, then there is money to be paid to assist the family in preparing the funeral. That is the last expense. These products, particularly the personal, for individuals, are available. We have brochures that maybe by tomorrow I can share with you people for various companies, and they are structured. You have cover for 500, cover for 1 million, cover for 2 million, cover for 3 million, and of course the prices increases with age and the limit that is so preferred. So I will be able to share brochures with you people so that you can be able to see. Now, I know what interests you most as riders is these exclusions, which you've already alluded to. The competitive racing that is considered as dangerous riding. The issue of bikes above 250cc. Some policies, as I mentioned earlier, others are quiet about it, and we are still interrogating them to see how best we can make hiking and other dangerous sports. Somebody had mentioned to me about mountaineering. Yes, when we go climbing mountains, it is risky. So internationally, we know Michael Schumacher is the Formula One driver is still in coma after trying to do the Alps. So it's considered as dangerous. Terrorism, war, and political risks, those are excluded. Suicide or attempted suicide, cosmetic surgery, riot, strike, and civil commotion if you are actively involved. Self-inflicted injuries. You know, there are people who decide to harm themselves and make a claim. That one is not, is a general exclusion. Insanity is also included. Own criminal act, e.g. when we can't agree and we decide to square it out in fighting, that is not insurable. Injury while intoxicated. If you take 1 2 minutes and you decide to drive or ride and then you are involved in an accident and it is proved that you are under influence of any drug or substance, then that claim is not payable. Pregnancy, abortion, childbirth, complication. You know, people would want to say this was an accident. That's why I miscarried. That's why, I mean, all those ones are excluded as it were. Use of aerial device except licensed aircrafts. Yeah, there are those people I've seen coming down, tumbling, using the balloon somewhere in Rift Valley. Those ones are not covered. But if you are flying using a licensed aircraft, that is covered. Sorry, I've repeated on war and terrorism. Injury while serving in disciplined force, not disciplinary, but disciplined force. That is the Army, the police, the Navy. That one is not covered under standard personal accident insurance. Let's move to the next slide, where we are talking about the claims reporting documentation. In a personal accident report, you need a accident report claim form where you generally fill your details, your personal details, and maybe your address, and maybe sometimes they will be asked your ID and all that. Those are personal information to see whether they match with what is in the policy. The other one is that form also has a page which is called the medical examination report, which you present to your doctor, the doctor who last saw you or who treated you, to fill in. And in that form, the doctor may also be able to say the degree of injury, the assessment of the degree of injury. We're talking of how bad was it? Was it something that you had a bruise? Was it an injury that will result to permanent disability? As you remember in the first slide, we're saying this this cover has cover for provision for death. If it's death, we know how much to be paid. If it is permanent total disability, we know we have to assess how the percentage of that personal disability. One may wonder, how is this assessed? Every policy has what we call the continental scale. This is how much it is awarded for you for having lost one leg, one hand, one wrist, one toe, one finger. All that is in the continental scale. So it is important for the doctor to say in his own assessment what he thinks would be the percentage of permanent disability. Then the medical bills, if you have incurred any.
Are we in the correct slide?
Hello? No, I'm still in the claims documentation. No, I've not moved. Oh, I moved to the next slide. Sorry. Claim documentation.
I think sadly it's not included, so we can just proceed.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, maybe it was. Sorry, I remember why it's not there. You may not be able to see them. The other thing that will be important is a police abstract or P3 form in case of injury or assault. Then you require a discharge summary. This one is important so that you can see how you are, maybe under what circumstances you are released from the hospital. Evidence of sick off, because you realize there is what we call the temporary disablement. This it's based on the number of weeks you have not been able to actively participate in employment or in your profession or in your occupation. The next slide, I think, number 4, group personal accident and not medical. There's another slide before that. Try the next one.
Okay, I think you can just continue while I have a look at that.
Yes, fine. Yes. The other one is about group personal accident and WIBA plus. I saw some people talk about the group personal accident and the WIBA. What we are saying is this takes the form of a personal accident cover. They are all covers meant to cater for injuries, that death or injury that arises out of accident. The only difference is that the group personal accident, as the name suggests, is for organization, it's for corporate, it's for a group of more than 10 people that have come together, either through employment or through association like the one you have, and decided to buy or organize or arrange insurance for accidents related. It takes the same form where we are saying there is the compensation for death, there's compensation for permanent disability, there's compensation for temporary total disablement, there's compensation for medical bills arising out of an accident, there's compensation for those artificial appliances and all other things. But mainly, we see these coming from employers where they do organize this for employees. Now, one who may wonder, why do you have group personal accident and WIBA still doing the same thing? WIBA is law. It's Work Injury Benefit Act. It's a law. It's there by law that every employer who has people, particularly in the environments that are considered as others, like maybe in a factory, you must have WIBA insurance cover. It is law. It's actually it is what came in to replace what used to be called workmen compensation for those of us who are there in the early 2000s and 90s. So WIBA is an enhancement of a workmen compensation, and the benefit of WIBA over GPA is that the law demands that you cover a person for, in case of death, you get 8 years salary as opposed to GPA, which may go even to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, like that. But law demands that if an employer has to take a WIBA policy, then the compensation for death is 8 years salary. Now, WIBA has been enhanced in such a way that it has a 24-hour cover. The 24-hour cover means that you can be covered while you're in your job or in your place of work or outside working environment. So basically, it is an enhanced WIBA. We call it WIBA plus. So in terms of claim documentation is the same documents that are provided for personal accident, which I mentioned earlier. But for WIBA, these are they are DOSH forms that are supposed to be taken to the Ministry of Labor's office in industrial area for completion. They are the people who determine your level of disability, and they complete those forms demanding the payment from your employer, and by extension your insurance for that matter. So basically those are what I would say about the accident related insurance covers. And I'll pause there and maybe hear what people have to say or questions that they have on this. Bryson, back to you. Sorry for that technical hitch. I don't know why the slide never appeared.
Yeah, my apologies also. I think one question that comes, especially when probably one is purchasing insurance,
yes,
it's probably between probably the overlap between personal accident cover and
yes,
probably medical cover, or what we have given by our workplaces. Yeah.
yeah.
So if you could explain probably a bit more about that interplay.
Okay, overlap between the personal accident insurance and what you have in the place of work. Now, what happens is that this is a capital benefit. This is something that you have purchased and need to be paid back to you. The only thing that cannot be paid twice is your medical insurance. The medical portion of your cover cannot be paid twice. But your benefit, if you have taken, even if you buy 3 or 4 personal accident insurances, they're supposed to address your claim and pay you separately, the 4 of them. The only portion that they would want to co-share, they would want to participate together, is the portion on medical reimbursement. You realize if you go to the hospital and you have a medical cover, of course your medical cover will come in first. The NHIF will come in. Then you, in case it is exhausted, then your personal accident limit for medical limit will come in and supplement what you had. So even if you are taken with the company X 500, company Y 500, company Z, they can proportionately share the burden until when the full amount is covered. The only problem is that your personal accident insurance medical extension is not like a medical cover that we buy. It's not like a medical cover per se. In that, this is on reimbursement. I want members to note the difference. Your medical insurance cover will cater for your inpatient expenses without you incurring a cost. But your medical limit under personal accident is basically on the reimbursement basis. So they only come in to reimburse you after you have already you incurred the cost. So I don't know whether I've been able to show the overlap between the personal accident, what is done by the company, and what you have purchased severally, and the medical insurance.
Yes, I think you've covered it well.
Okay.
Probably you could speak a bit more on the next section, which is medical insurance.
Or medical insurance.
Yes,
now, this one is very complicated cover. Maybe you can go to the next page of the slide. Yes. Yeah, as it were, and I know many of you could be having a either personal or company organized insurance. This seeks compensates for, these seeks to provide compensation for expenses arising out of hospitalization subject to product terms and condition. This could be inpatient benefit, outpatient benefit, dental, optical, or maternity related expenses subject to the benefit purchased. Medical insurance is available for individuals, families, or organizations. Groups must be registered as KYC documents are mandatory requirements. I'm talking about the group of the Association of Kenya Private Motorcycle Riders Association must be registered for it to be able to organize for a group medical cover. Group medical schemes are obviously cheaper than the individual covers and have less exclusions. I'll fly over the exclusions. I know it's very difficult for us to exhaust the exclusions under the medical insurance. So maybe I'll just fly over them. The first one, and this affects our sisters, cosmetics and plastic surgery, unless it is a deformity arising out of an accident. Treatment for by alternative providers like chiropractors, the herbalists, acupuncture, etc. Nursing home charges, dental, optical, and maternity, unless extended in the cover. Treatment of infertility or artificial insemination, hereditary or congenital diseases that is born with, long-term external surgical appliances, including wheelchairs and prostheses. These are the artificial limbs. Cost of donating an organ, medical examination unless prescribed by the policy. Cost of donating an organ is the expenses incurred to test the donor, to operate the donor, they are not covered by your policy. Medical examination unless prescribed by the policy. Nutritional supplements, GNLD products, not covered. Stop smoking aids. Yes, there are people who, for them not to smoke, they must get something to eat or chew. That is not covered. And those drugs are expensive. They are not covered. Treatment of or medicine from unlicensed practitioner. Yes, our brothers who work with the jerry cans in the streets and they purport to have medicine that cure all diseases. That is not covered. Pandemic, e.g. the recently known COVID-19. So basically, I've just mentioned a few of them. We also have exclusion for pre-existing, okay, it's excluded, but can also be admitted after completion of the mandatory, that is pre-existing conditions. These are the diabetes, the cancers, which were there before you took up the cover. And HIV-related cases can be covered, but this one will only happen after one, you have completed the mandatory waiting period of 1 year or 2 years for some policies, or if you have taken a group cover and the insurance company has deemed it appropriate to give a waiver for the same. COVID-19, I would want to mention about it. This is what kept us indoors and scared us for the better part of last year and this year, and we are not out of the woods. I would say we are still worried about a possible fifth wave. So we can only pray that doesn't happen. But what is happening is that companies have quickly come up with products. I know of a general accident. They have a standalone product you can buy, and they have given a limit that they can pay for you in case of the COVID attack. Others have been generous to extend the existing insurances to cover COVID. Unfortunately, others are still stuck to the fact that they cannot be able to cover a pandemic. There has been a big fight between the insurance companies and the regulator, because the regulator is saying, unless the policy was explicitly clear that it was not to cover COVID, then the insurance should pay. So basically that is the much I can say for now about COVID. Yeah? Age is also a major factor when you're determining the premiums for individual medical cover. The older you are, the more expensive it is to procure insurance, particularly medical insurance. And then also after age 50, when you want to buy an individual product or a family product, you will obviously be subjected to medical examination to determine how you are before they can sell the product to you. Many people have been turned down at this point, because if you are found to have some terminal conditions, obviously most insurance companies will decline to give you cover. So that is why they do this pre-insurance medical examination. Fortunately, most of the time it's at their cost. There is also the maximum age limit for insurance. Some will say 65, others will go to 70, others will go to 75. It all depends on the insurance company. So So that is what I would say about the insurance for medical. Maybe I would expose myself to questions at this point. Bryson, back to you.
Yes. Cool. So if anyone has any questions, specifically around personal accident cover and medical insurance, please share. I think there's one question from Omoyo.
Yeah, whether the pre-existing condition affects a person who is it no medical examination? It's on medical examination. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Whether a person who is renewing is subjected to medical examination. I would say there are two forms. There are two things that happen in the medical insurance. One is that at the point of entry. At the point of entry, that is more or less mandatory. Subsequent to that, it is because the insurance want to know this person we're insuring. How is this person faring? And the beauty of it is that they will not refuse to renew your insurance cover because they have discovered that you have subsequently acquired a certain maybe terminal condition. You still do the medical assessment maybe after 1 or 2 years, but the essence of that is not to deny you the cover, but to know the kind of risk they are exposed to. You realize for these terminal ailments, the most unfortunate thing is that if you purchase a cover for 3 million inpatient, you realize the capping for terminal cases will be in the range of 750 to 1 million, and sometimes even as low as 500. They are actually capped to a certain maximum. They are not like a cost of maybe an accident or any other kind of incident that may result to hospitalization. So that is the only unfortunate bit. And I would say, again, to answer Omoyo's question, is that the essence of repeat medical examination is to know how much they're exposed, not to deny you cover. Thank you.
Okay. I think our question comes. I think our question comes from the angle of probably I've had a medical insurance or health insurance with a certain company for 20 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Right from when I was a young man at 35, and now I'm hitting 55.
Yes.
Is this taken into account during probably my renewal of policy, or?
Yeah, we are coming up. We are seeing the market now responding to issue of retirees. Okay. I'm sure that is what you are alluding to. We have seen companies coming up with products that are meant for people who are now exiting from employment, or the pensioners as they are called. And the history, your medical history, if it is proved, it can be used to waive maybe the condition that can be there for an individual policy. We had a presentation by CIC Insurance Company on Tuesday last week, and what came from their new product for the aged is that if you are retiring from a certain scheme and you are able to prove it, and they are also able to prove it that you are working for KRA and KRA insured by Britam, then they will use that information to give you a new, or to underwrite the new cover that you are going to take. So yes, it is there. There is room for transition. In fact, we are very particular about that particular clause. There is room for transition from a company cover to an individual cover, and conditions may be waived. The waiting period will be waived. Remember, when you buy any individual cover, there is always a waiting period that sometimes stretches to 24 months. So if you come and it's evidently proved that you are coming from an existing cover, that will be waived. The waiting period will be waived.
Thank you.
Next question.
The next question is in terms of health cover and paying for motorcycle accident health bills. Have you experienced any cases in which the insurance didn't pay for? Or what would insurers be wary about probably covering upon a motorcycle accident?
Actually, their biggest worry is those dangerous sports. I've not seen them even being able to point out to say the CC of the, I've not seen that policy warning that denies somebody because the motorcycle was of a higher engine capacity. I've not seen that. Maybe it could be there, maybe I'm yet to come across that, but I've not seen that. So to me, medical insurance will be there for you unless they were quick to know that you are participating in a competitive racing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I think those are more or less all the questions that would be around medical covers and personal accident cover.
Yes. Yes.
So I think the next section is on the last mile or the last journey, which would be around funerals. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, this is not a policy we enjoy selling or talking about, because we know by the time we want to enjoy the cover, you are not with us, and it could be the last premium that I will receive from you. So yes, it is there, and I came in because people realize that of late the cost of maybe sending off a loved one is increasingly becoming unbearable. And in order to maybe defray some of these expenses, then the market came up with the last expense insurance cover. That is to cater for funeral expenses for a departed insured member. It is mainly purchased as a rider to a personal accident cover or a life insurance cover as an accelerated benefit. However, it is nowadays available as a standalone cover for organizations that like yours, the chamas, the big companies, any organization, as long as it is a recognized organization. Like I have about 5 chamas which have bought last expense cover, and also SACCOs. SACCOs also are very good in taking up this last expense cover. So in an organization like yours, if you have the KYC document, it's an important cover which can help the group in case one of us unfortunately dies. And it does not discriminate death from whatever cause. It could be accidental death, death from natural condition. The only one which discriminates is the one which is a rider of the personal accident. It has to be a death that is accident related. But if you take these other form of last expense covers, any form of death is catered for. The ranges from 50,000, 100,000 to 100,000, 300,000. I've seen a high of 500. And even the cover is extended to cover your immediate family members, that is your spouse and children. And we also have products that are covering our parents, that is the parents or your parents and your parents-in-law. The only thing is that these are structured, they are structured in such a way that within a given period of time, they limit you to up to a maximum of 3 deaths or 4 deaths. I've seen that kind of, that is the products that are in the market. Either 3 deaths within the family or 4 deaths. After the third death, then you can only purchase back the benefit. Brochures for this can also be availed to your organization so that you can be able to look at them. So that maybe you can combine with you do want to ask question now, or I touch about the evacuation, because this one is a very straightforward thing.
Yes, I think we can touch on the evacuation and then probably have summary questions. Yes.
Okay. Evacuation now is this is now seeks to provide a cover for emergency evacuations from throwing accidents or ailment. You realize you might have traveled to Marsabit and you fell sick in a way that no facility in Marsabit will address your condition. In this case, now if you have AAR, Insurance Rescue Services, or AMRE, Flying Doctors, or others, there are quite a number who have come up. Then these people will help you they will evacuate you from wherever you are to the hospital, the preferred hospital for the condition that you are suffering from. If it is an accident, you realize accident can occur even in your own house, and you probably require evacuation because you may be injured in such a way that your car cannot be able to take you to hospital. In this way, you require evacuation. Evacuation may not necessarily mean flying somebody from a very remote area. It could be even the local evacuation by ambulance services. And this sometimes is also available as an extension of your inpatient cover. It is taken as a supplement of your inpatient cover. But the general one is where you have independent providers that give these services at a fee or at an insurance premium. So basically, it is getting you to the next best facility or the preferred facility to address the ailment or the accident that may have befallen the insured person. We can have air or ambulance road services. Thank you, Bryson. I think I don't have much to say about the evacuation cover. Now, maybe I will open myself to questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Murage. I think we've all benefited from your wealth of experience. And
yes.
I think, when people hear insurance on a Thursday evening,
yes.
it can sound very dull, but you've made it very interesting. And
okay.
yeah, I'm glad you've taken your time off your busy
yes.
schedule to come and talk to us here.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Bryson and team. I'm available. I think I'll share my contacts. I'll ask Michelle to share that presentation. Maybe because of the missing session, I'll organize tomorrow, see why a few sections are missing, so that we can have a comprehensive presentation that can be shared to all your members. And on the presentation, you have our contacts, and I'm available to answer any query anytime. I don't want to take it as a business, but I know along the way, we shall probably do business together. So to me, anytime you can call me, I'll be able to respond to your inquiry. And once again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Lovely, thank you. And for all our members who want to catch up on parts of this, because it does seem that some questions are being repeated, we will have a recording available on YouTube, I think on the INKED Sisterhood page. So yes, all of us can catch up on this lovely session there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. I don't know if Michelle at this point should probably want to jump in.
Hi, Bryson. Yeah. Okay.
No, I was actually saying thank you, Bryson, for moderating the session. It was quite informative. And thank you, David Murage, for spending the entire evening with us and getting us acquainted with the Kenyan insurance sector. If we have more questions, and based on our interactions with members, we'll be able to set up a follow-up session should need arise, and then we can always take it up from there. And then when we come to you with a request for a discount, I hope you will remember your promise today and give it to us.
Yes, Michelle. There are two things that I would want to promise I want to do. One, I want to see whether I can be able to come up with a product for you as a team. You see, in the past, we've been dealing with you individually. When you come to my office, I've been dealing with you as one owner of a motorbike. Now, I want to face the market and tell them I have about 100 people who I would want to tailor-made their product, so that even those challenges of big bikes can be addressed. If we are at 250 and we are moved to 500, I'm sure we'll have covered a bigger group of you, isn't it? So my take for this evening is that I have a challenge. I need to go down and look at a customized product for you people, so that by the end of the day, we are able to cater for those specific needs that we have addressed here this evening. Thank you. Michelle? Bryson, we lost Michelle?
Seems so. So I think I would like to say thank you to everyone who helped bring this together.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Murage, for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you, the PBAK officials. Thank you, the team from ISH, who've made this happen, and also to all our participants. Yeah, thank you for taking the time off to more or less learn about insurance and make sure that you're safer, better riders on the road for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, Bryson, just to interrupt, I can see Edwin Mariwa is asking for Mr. Morage's contact. Edwin, if you're in any, you can inbox the PBAK official line. We should be able to share Mr. Morage's contact with you or any other agent from Primken, so that you're able to get sorted.
Yes. I think
yes, anyone wants.
I think we could also probably share it alongside with the presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
Probably under the comment section or under the description on YouTube, so that everyone would be able to reach out to Mr. Murage and have a conversation. Yeah.
Thank you. Anytime. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you all. Enjoy the night.
Thank you. Good night. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.